Trump tricked the media and the public into watching this garbage. His approval ratings are in the toilet. His favorability is in the toilet. People's opinion of his job approval, specifically on the economy and immigration, is in the toilet. Trump is unpopular with his own base because of the exit of Marjorie Greene, the handling of the files, the post about Rob Reiner, the lack of conclusion to the war in Ukraine, lack of mass deportations, lack of law and order from National Guard in the cities. People are not happy with the Trump administration. He's not delivering. All he is doing is talking. Rather than deliver one or any of the promises that he made, he is simply talking them up, trying to convince us that they are certainly happening. And this is why everyone hates Trump now. Because it is a scam. It's not even a failure. It's not even an honest failure. It is a scam. We are not getting anything that we have been promised. Think about it. We were promised industrial policy, tariffs, subsidies. They backed down in 1 week. Remember Liberation Day, April 2nd, we're going to liberate ourselves from free trade. We're going to have tariffs on every country. They caved in 1 week. They said, we're declaring tariffs on every country in the world. And then when the bond market melted down, they said, never mind. It was really just a big trick. And what we always intended to do was to only have tariffs on China and nobody else. Trump always chickens out. Then he said, we're going to deploy the National Guard to Chicago and LA and Memphis and every major city. And we're going to bring law and order to the streets. Then they said, oh, actually, we can't do that. And if we deploy 200 National Guard, that's what we meant. And we're only doing it for 60 days. And it never happened. Trump always chickens out. He said mass deportations. We're going to get all these people back. We're going to deport everybody, the violent criminals first, and then everybody else. 300,000 deportations for the year. He always chickens out. Every single thing is a catastrophe.
And this right here is Trump's biggest problem. This guy is so hell-bent on trying to appease both sides. The more you try to tone down your policies to appease the left, the more you're going to alienate your own supporters.
And instead of just being honest, instead of actually just recommitting to doing these things that were promised, we get excuses. And Trump gets up in a primetime address, like he did every week in the first term, and said, actually, everything's really going great. And it's like we just live in two different worlds now. We live in two different worlds with MAGA supporters, with Trump supporters. In the minds of Trump supporters, 3 million people have been deported, and Trump has ended 8 wars, and inflation is actually down. And that is what they believe. Even though the war in Ukraine is going on, they will confidently tell you, but Trump ended 8 wars. And what they're referring to is the war between Thailand and Cambodia, not making that up. The war between Rwanda and Congo, not making that up. The skirmish between India and Pakistan. In reality, where we live, the Ukraine war, the actual war, that's still going on. The peace in Gaza, that's falling apart and will probably restart anytime soon. But Trump supporters will say, no, but he ended 8 different wars. How much do you want him to do? It's like, I think we elected him to end the war in Ukraine, not the one in Cambodia, actually. Not the border skirmish in Cambodia.
Trump is such an idiot for saying these things before he got elected. Look, I'm gonna be honest, right? If anybody really thought that this guy was really gonna end the Russia-Ukraine war within the first year of his office, you are out of your mind. When he was saying that stuff during his speeches, I was like, bro, shut up. Come on, be serious. That's not happening. One of the biggest L's he possibly took is that he was gonna end the conflict in Gaza. Are you being serious right now? That shit has been going on for thousands of years, and just because you're gonna come into office, it's gonna end?
You say, where are the mass deportations? They don't even report the figures. The best estimates say it's 300,000, maybe 500,000 at most. In Trump world, they take a community survey that polled 65,000 households, and they extrapolate that to mean that 3 million people left the country because they were afraid of Trump. Trump deployed National Guard to Washington, D.C. They said, so actually, he made good on the promise of restoring law and order. And he comes onto the primetime address and insults our intelligence, defending this record with nonsense. We didn't need legislation to close the border. We just needed a new president. Yeah, that was cute like the first 300 times we heard it. Now it's just a joke. So this characterizes everything about the Trump years. The whole thing is a bait and switch. The whole thing is just a never-ending advertisement. We're always fighting. Victory, prosperity is always just around the corner. Even tonight, he announces a check for the veterans. Okay, like honestly, big deal. The tariffs are not bringing in that much money. They're not solving the debt problem at all. They're not bringing back manufacturing. But Trump instead just lies and says, well, actually, we're bringing in so much money, we're going to get rid of income taxes and we're going to pay people money. Well, what happened to Doge cutting the deficit by $2 trillion? What happened to that? What happened to tariffs actually making money from every country? Then he says, well, we're going to cut a check to everybody. Oh, we don't have enough money for that. Now it's a check for the veterans. Now it's a check for the soldiers, and we'll call it a warrior dividend. Warrior. More of this cultural language. The only thing that was substantive in the speech, he talked about a ambitious housing plan next year. Okay, why? It's like you hear that and you go, he does a primetime address to announce that he'll have a housing plan later. Then why announce it now? You should have a pretty good idea of what you want to do when you get in. There's no housing plan. It's not finished yet. Did you not know you needed one during the presidential transition? And why are we announcing it now then? Hey, I have an announcement, everybody. I'm working on a plan for housing. Get ready, because it's all going to get better. Okay, but when? And what is it? And what are the details? When are we actually going to see prosperity? And the speech isn't even good. On top of all this, so first of all, you lie to get us to watch. You lie to our faces that things are going great. You don't even have a plan. Clearly, he knows there's a problem. He knows it's not going well. He knows he needs a reset. He doesn't even have a plan. Oh, we'll cut a check to the veterans and the rest to be announced later. And then to add insult to injury, it's not even a good speech. He sounds the confidence isn't there anymore. The swagger isn't there. Stuttering, stumbling, weird little riffs, weird little verbal tics.
Trump has been in a generational aura debt, and it's really sad to see as someone who really likes the guy. What seemed like such an easy layup is starting to turn into what feels like a disaster. Between all of the funding to Israel and the suppression of the files, and now this garbage of you're gonna have prosperity next year, I don't know what's going on with this administration. And look, I'll be reasonable. We do have W's coming along the way. We're having a lot of cultural W's, where like the DEI stuff is getting toned down, the mass trans spread is getting toned down as well, but some of the major promises such as affordability, housing, car prices, all of these things still are relatively high. And if they are lower in some areas, it sure as hell ain't lower in major cities, I'll tell you that much.
Detours he keeps going on, and you say, so the magic is gone too. The substance is gone, the style is gone. And I see these on Twitter, they say Trump just trolled the media into carrying his primetime address from the White House. The joke is on them. No, the joke is on us. So I watched the address. It's just another ridiculous show. And I'm ready to be done with the Trump show. And unlike Tucker, I'm not going to do a 180 and say, oh, I don't know what I said. You know, what I meant was, I don't know. And I would say he should step down, but then J.D. Vance is going to become the president. But what do you even do with this at this point? Everything I said has come to pass. Worse even than I imagined. Because I told you in 2024 it would be like this. I told you this is exactly how it would go. And it was pretty obvious why. Trump had sold out to the donors on everything, on labor, on immigration, on foreign policy. It's going to be corporate tax cuts, war for Israel. The war in Ukraine is not going to end. No mass deportations. It's going to be more permanent bureaucrats running out the clock. They're not going to move with the urgency, the swiftness that they need to. And in the end, all it's going to do is bring the left down harder upon us. Let's say the Democrats win in...
Okay, he's definitely gassing it a little bit. Like, let's be honest here. Things are for sure better than they were a year ago. Like, if we're being real, okay? If you don't remember, just a year ago, World War III was trending all over Twitter. It's not like that anymore. But at the same time, I don't blame people for criticizing Trump like this because he was the bozo who promised that he would end the conflict. And even though things are better than they were a year ago, he still has to take the L for making these promises that he hasn't kept.
2028. Which, if they appoint an actually viable candidate, we're in trouble. We kind of got lucky in 2024, wouldn't you say? We got lucky that Joe Biden is demented. We got lucky that his successor, Kamala Harris, was somehow more unpopular than him. Joe Biden was barely alive. Kamala Harris had never won a single contest, a caucus, a primary, has never won any kind of contest in a national election. Add to that Trump had the full weight of the Israel lobby and little tech, and he got here and had the iconic moment that changed the course of history. So we kind of got lucky in 2028, just like we got lucky in 2016. If the Democrats put up a halfway decent candidate in 2028 that doesn't alienate white people, that isn't super woke and isn't super cringe, we're going to get absolutely destroyed. And you know what's going to happen when they win? They're not going to found like we are. They're not going to hire Rachel Maddow to run the FBI. They're not going to appoint a bunch of idiots to run the cabinet. They're going to hire the best judges, the best lawyers, the best law enforcement, and they are going to literally us. They are literally going to take away all of our civil liberties. They're going to throw us in jail. Because you see that Trump is barking up the wrong tree here. He is weaponizing the DOJ against James Comey, Barack Obama, Letitia James, Jackson, whatever. The way that Trump is going after his enemies, the way that he is inciting them and basically just antagonizing the radical left. He is inviting a brutal retaliation.
But the problem is, no matter what conservatives or centrists do, no matter how reasonable it is, you're always going to antagonize the left because they're out of their minds. These are people who are going to celebrate the passing of conservative figures. These people are sick in their heads, and there's nothing you can do to talk to them and bring them towards the middle because they're out of their minds. And this is my biggest problem with Donald Trump, and I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way as well. This fool is trying to appease both sides. Well, guess what? You can't appease people that are crazy. You can't appease people that want you dead and want all of your followers gone as well. What are you going to possibly tell them to turn them on your side? Nothing. You have to crush them ideologically and metaphorically. Because if you don't, they're only going to keep on getting crazier and stronger. And what happened to Charlie Kirk is just going to be the beginning. Because these damn sickos think in their head that they're packing up fascists because they disagree with what they have to say. These people have deluded themselves into thinking that all conservatives are evil. You can't reason with these people. They're too far gone. So you going lax on deportations and you going lax on these certain liberal areas is only doing you more harm than good, because not only is the left antagonizing you, the weakness that you are showing has now have your own followers antagonize you as well. And at that point, we're just gonna lose. And here's the sad reality of the situation, and here's what's a little blackpilling about it. We're gonna have to vote for a conservative figure no matter what, because what are we gonna vote for, the left so they can censor us and continue what happened on Charlie Kirk but on a massive scale so they can lock up conservative figures? However, there is a bright side to this. Trump was the first step into turning the conservative party into America first. And as this feeling in the conservative movement starts to grow, over time, the next conservative presidential candidate will be more and more America first. So in the long run, we do have victory within our grasp. But that being said, let me know what you guys think in the comments below.